Right. Okay. So we are in recording mode. This is a GEC English class. My name is Professor Amrit Sen, and I am going to discuss with you a section of Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, the soliloquy of Mark Antony titled Friends, Romans, and Countrymen. Now, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears rather. Now, the first and foremost, let me welcome all of you. You are first year students to Vishwabharati and my department. I am also the director of the publishing department, which is in Kolkata. So this office from where I'm speaking from is actually in Kolkata. So I can't meet you over across the table, as it were, in a classroom, but I'm sure there will be some time when we can meet subsequently. Now, the GEC class is basically attuned to give you an idea into a subject other than your honors subject. All of you have taken English, and this particular paper, as you know, is titled Language, Literature, and Culture. So how is culture represented through language, and how is dramatic communication achieved? So this is what I will be discussing today through this particular soliloquy of William Shakespeare. Now, I do not need to tell you about Shakespeare as such. All of you know that he was probably England's greatest dramatist. His dates would be 1564 to 1564 to 1616. Shakespeare wrote across a large number of genres or forms, dramatic forms. Now, they included tragedy, comedy, they included the pastoral, they included the sonnets. Sonnet is, of course, poetry, dark comedies, and historical plays. But he also wrote a series of plays which are considered to be Roman histories, right? Why Roman histories? Because the Greco-Roman civilization was considered to be the epitome of greatness, prosperity, and sophistication, right? Therefore, Roman history was seen as one of the earliest expositions of human greatness. And therefore, Roman history was part and parcel of the education system of that time. And therefore, Shakespeare and his contemporaries, many of his contemporaries, wrote about these Roman heroes. Now, one of these Roman heroes, of course, was Julius Caesar. Caesar, who was one of the greatest warriors of Rome, came to power after the death of Pompey. And Caesar, unfortunately, or after he ascended power, he was considered to be gradually becoming a tyrant. Who's a tyrant? Somebody, T-Y-R-A-N-T. And tyrant leads to this word called tyranny, T-Y-R-A-N-N-Y. Now, the tyrant is one who consolidates complete power within himself and is undemocratic and therefore is considered to be inimical to the state, considered to be bad for the state because he does not allow democratic space, and then he can be extremely cruel and he can dominate all the other segments of the population. Therefore, when Julius Caesar was considered to be a tyrant, then a group of his own courtiers and friends who had fought with him, including Brutus, Cassius, Cinna, and the others, formed a plot to assassinate him. He was assassinated on the Ides of March, on the 15th of March, in the Roman Capitol, Capitol, right? And this event created a huge crisis in Roman history. So the population was divided into two, population and the nobility was divided into two segments. On the one hand were Brutus and the other Romans, who argued that they loved Caesar, the man, but since he was becoming a tyrant, they had to murder him. They had to remove him for the good of the state, right? So what is their argument? Their argument is that we were friends with Caesar, but Caesar had become a tyrant. He would consolidate all power within himself. That would be bad for the state. So for the sake of the country, we murdered Caesar, right? And then with his body came Caesar's supporters who wanted, Caesar was stabbed 7 times by the 7 conspirators, as it were. And Caesar's friend and disciple, Mark Antony, whose speech we will read, wanted this body and wanted revenge for Caesar, right? Wanted revenge for the murder of Caesar. And therefore, to incite the people, incite is I-N-C-I-T-E, to incite the people to rise in rebellion against Brutus and the other conspirators, he came to the capital, asked for the body, and gave an impassioned speech. This speech, Mark Antony's speech, is the speech that we are going to study, right? So this is the context then, that Caesar has been murdered, assassinated by 7 conspirators who have now seized power, and his friend Mark Antony wants his body back. Brutus gives him his body and says, give him a proper burial. And Mark Antony wants revenge. Along with Octavius Caesar, he wants revenge against Brutus and the conspirators, and therefore incites the people into rebellion against Brutus. And henceforth, there will be 2 camps, one led by Brutus and the other led by Mark Antony. In this battle, ultimately, Mark Antony will prove victorious, and Brutus and Cassius, the 2 perpetrators of the crime, the 2 main perpetrators of the crime, will be killed, right? Or they will commit suicide. Now, this is the story of Julius Caesar, right? For those of you who have joined late, right, I will just repeat that this entire lecture is available will be available as a recording on the YouTube page. So don't panic right now that you have missed out on a part of the lecture. At the end of the lecture, once again, I'll give you the YouTube link to my page where you can subscribe and take a look at this lecture once again. Now, therefore, why is this speech so important? Apart from the fact that Antony is impassionedly asking the people to rebel against against Brutus. It is important because it's a fantastic piece of rhetoric, right? How does one talk about, or how does one inflame a mob? If you know, a mob is a group of unruly people, comes from the Roman word mobile vulgus. So to incite a mob, Antony will use a range of emotions, satire, irony, right? So that is something which we shall take a look at, how words can be used to generate emotions and to convince people. This is the art of rhetoric. What is rhetoric? Rhetoric is the art of public speaking, right? So when I am speaking to you, I am going to use a form of rhetoric, and I will use figures of speech like similes, metaphors. I will use tones of voice, like somewhere I'll whisper to you when I want to give you a secret. I will shout at you when I am angry. I will console you when you are sad. So tones of voice, figures of speech, right? Personification, similes, metaphors, irony, etc. These are what go into the making of rhetoric. So let us take a look now. I've spoken a lot of background. Let us take a look now at the actual speech. Right. Now, for this, I will need to present I need to present my screen. So you will tell me whether you can actually see what I am presenting. Can you see this? The life and death of Julius Caesar. This
Yes,
is
sir.
right. You can see this.
Yes, sir.
Great. Excellent. Now, what does Brutus say? Now, this is not in your syllabus. This is just prior to the speech that you have in your syllabus. Brutus says, and you see, I'm sort of highlighting this line, not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved more. Had you rather Caesar were living and die all slaves than that Caesar were dead to live all free men? As he was ambitious, I slew him. Because he wanted too much power for himself, because he wanted to be a tyrant, I slew him. So I was his friend, but I killed him, not because I loved him less, but I loved Rome no more. Right. So he says that he has done this for the love of his country. Right. So his love for his country was more than the love for his for Caesar. Right. Therefore, Brutus is portraying himself as a patriot. And then he says, here comes Antony with his body mourned by Mark Antony. And he says, you, Antony, shall bury him, right? And stay here with Antony, do grace to Caesar's corpse, grace his speech, tending to Caesar's glories, which Mark Antony, by our permission, is allowed to make. So he's telling the people that I have given the Mark Antony the permission to speak on Caesar's death. So Antony is speaking through Brutus's or with Brutus's permission. And look at the crowd. What does the crowd say? The crowd says that, live Brutus, live. Right, bring him with triumph home unto his house. Give him a statue with his ancestors. Let him be Caesar. So at this point, the crowd is totally with Brutus. It has accepted the fact that, yes, Caesar was ambitious, and therefore it was right to slay him, to kill him. Right. We often talk about the crowd as a fickle crowd. A crowd with very fickle is F-I-C-K-L-E. A crowd which changes its opinion frequently. So it is now Antony's aim to change the opinion of the crowd, to incite them against Brutus. And this he will do through my other screen. This is the text that I'll share with you. Right. This is the speech of Mark Antony. And this is a beautiful kind of expression of rhetoric. Friends, Romans, countrymen. Right. So, he's sort of drawing the crowd near him. He's calling them their friends and countrymen. Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. What does lend me your ears mean? It means listen to me carefully. Lend me your ears, listen to me carefully. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. So saying I have come with the body of Caesar, and I will now bury him. That Caesar's body, which has 7 gaping wounds caused by the knives of these assassins. So I have come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. At this moment, the crowd is silent because it's looking at a corpse. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. The evil that men do lives after them. So you do not remember what good men have done, but we remember their scandals, the evil acts that they have done. The good is often interred. Interred is buried, right, with their bones. So once a man dies, all his good acts are forgotten. People remember only the evil that he created. The noble, so let it be with Caesar. Let me read this once again. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. So let it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus hath told you. And you see, there's an irony within the term noble. What is irony? Irony is a figure of speech where something is said while something else is meant. Something is said while something is meant. So if, say, you are very foolish, and I say that your brain has a great or is slightly devoid of light. I am being sarcastic and ironic, right? Oh, he is such a wonderful fellow. We know that he has killed somebody. That is being ironic, right? So the noble Brutus for Antony is not a noble man. He has killed somebody, right? So when Antony calls Brutus noble, it's actually meaning that Brutus is ignoble, is devious, is a killer. Noble Brutus has told you Caesar was ambitious. You remember the speech of Brutus, which I just showed you a little earlier, right? That Brutus had read that Caesar was becoming ambitious, so I had to kill him. So noble Brutus had told you Caesar was ambitious. If it were so, it was a grievous fault. Grievous fault, it was a major fault. And grievously had Caesar answered it. And Caesar has suffered for it grievously. He has been killed and assassinated by Brutus. Now you will remember one sentence that Caesar said when he was being murdered. So all the others were sort of slashing and stabbing him. And then Brutus stabbed. Brutus was his closest friend. And Caesar said, "Et tu, Brutus, et tu, you too, Brutus." Yes? Sorry?
So your voice is not coming clearly. Like the network is not.
Is this a problem with everybody or is this your problem only? The others, can the others
Yes,
hear me
sir. I
clearly?
am also.
Yes, sir, we are facing the same problem.
We are also facing the same problem, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, well.
Now it's kind of clear, but when you are like speaking continuously, some of your words are just cutting.
Okay, fine. So I'll slow down, I guess. That will have to be the case. Okay, fine. Let me know if the voice breaks once again. So, so the last speech that Caesar made, the last words of Caesar was, "Et tu, Brute," you too, Brutus. So this was an act, as Antony is trying to say, of betrayal, a betrayal of the king, of the betrayal of the monarch, as it were. So maybe my mask is slightly putting you off. I'm sorry, I because I'm in Kolkata and because I'm in an office space, I have to use the mask for this dreadful virus. So grievously had Caesar answered him. He has been murdered for the fault of ambition, as these people are telling us. They have betrayed and killed their friend. So here, under leave of Brutus and the rest. So Brutus has given me leave. Leave is permission. Here, under permission of Brutus and the rest. For Brutus is an honorable man. And then that is also very ironic, because Brutus has just betrayed Caesar. He's just killed him. So he's not honorable, but dishonorable, right? So this is the irony. For Brutus is an honorable man. So are they all honorable men, right? See how he's sort of playing on this concept of honorable. None of them are honorable. All of them are murderers. So Antony is using irony to incite the crowd, right? So Brutus is an honorable man. So are they all honorable men. Come I to speak in Caesar's funeral? So if they were all honorable, how come that I am coming to speak in Caesar's funeral? Why have they killed Caesar? They were dishonorable. They have killed Caesar, and I have to come and speak in his funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just to me. So Antony now praises Caesar. He's praising Caesar very obliquely, indirectly. He says, I knew him as a friend. He was honest and just to me. But Brutus says he was ambitious. And Brutus is an honorable man. You see, note these two words. Caesar was faithful and just. Brutus is unfaithful and unjust. So Brutus says he was ambitious. And you see how this repetition of the line, and Brutus is an honorable man, is in figure of speech called a refrain, R-E-F-R-A-I-N, a refrain, right? So it is repeated. A line, when it is repeated, is called a refrain. So what does the refrain do? It sort of gives you or emphasizes. Anything when repeated is emphasis. It emphasizes that Brutus is dishonorable, right? Okay, just give me a minute. Somebody is probably trying to enter into the meeting. I can't log him in. Sorry. A little challenged. Okay. Right. Okay, please, I can see a lot of microphones are also on. You know, Ruxar, Tamannum, Orithro. Why are you keeping your microphones on? If you keep your microphones on, then my voice gets cut off, right? That's the problem of the audio.
It is off.
Sir, my microphone is off.
All your microphones are on, I can see that.
So, but right now, just I switched it
Okay,
on.
so switch it off, please. Yes, right. Okay, so let me move on to the next part. So Brutus is an honorable man. He had brought many captives home to Rome. At this point of time, there was the system of slavery. So Brutus, he says that Caesar had brought many slaves to Rome. So he had increased its wealth, its coffers, whose ransoms did the general coffers fill. So Caesar brought a lot of glory to the state. Did this in Caesar seem ambitious? So he's asking, is this ambition? Because Caesar had worked not for himself, but for the state. So Brutus is calling him ambitious, but he's actually a patriot. Ambition. When the poor have cried, Caesar hath wept. Right, so when the poor cried, Caesar was empathetic to them. Caesar was kind to them. Was this ambition? Caesar loved his people. Yet Brutus' ambition should be made of sterner stuff. So you should be heartless if you have ambition. But Caesar was not heartless. He was faithful, he was just, he was a patriot, and he wanted to love his people. Yet Brutus says he was ambitious. And Brutus is an honorable man. You all did see that on the Lupercal is one of the festivities of Rome. You all did see that on the Lupercal, on the festival, I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. So he refused to wear a crown. Was this ambition? So Brutus is saying that Caesar was a tyrant, so he had to kill him. But he himself refused the crown. So can we call him ambitious? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and sure, he is an honorable man. So this is the irony once again. The irony that is played out through the refrain, the repetition of that line, and Brutus is an honorable man. I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke. So he immediately sort of says, because you see, Brutus's people are still around. So he says, I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke, but here I am to speak what I do know. You all did love him once. Love him once? Caesar. You all did love Caesar once, not without cause. So you loved Caesar because he was good to you. What cause withholds you then to mourn for him? Right? So why are you not mourning for him? Why do you keep quiet when he's killed? O judgment, thou art fled to brutish beasts. So human beings have lost their capacity to judge, to make rational, to come to rational conclusions. If you were rational, you would have come to the conclusion that Brutus is dishonorable and Brutus is a murderer and Brutus has betrayed Caesar. And men have lost their reason. Bear with me. My heart is in the coffin there with Caesar, and I must pause till it come back to me. So he's spoken for some time and saying, let me catch a breath, because my heart right now is with Caesar in the grave, in the coffin. It's still not in the grave, I'm sorry. Is in the coffin. My heart is so heavy, it is with Caesar. I am his true friend. I am mourning for him, whilst his murderers are betrayers. So what is Antony suggesting? Antony is suggesting that Brutus is dishonorable, he has betrayed and lied to the public, and that Caesar was a genuine patriot who was not a tyrant because he had refused the crown, and he had love for his own people. So on the one hand, you have Brutus who argues that he loved Caesar not less, but he loved Rome more, and that he killed Caesar for being a tyrant. And here is Mark Antony, who is passionately pleading to the people to rise in rebellion, to talk about the glory of Caesar, and for revenge against Brutus, whom he calls the honorable man, very ironically, and points to his dishonorable and act of betrayal. Now, I'll just quickly take you once again back to this particular segment. Right. Anyways, that is then the text of what you had to do. Do you have questions? Did you not understand any part of the lines? Now, I'll just, since I've come to this, a few other lines later on what happens so that you know. He will now read the will of Caesar, and he says that in his will, Caesar has given people to everybody, I'm sorry, money to every single citizen of Rome. And then he talks about Brutus's unkind knock. For Brutus, as you know, was Caesar's angel, his greatest friend. Judge, O you God, how dearly Caesar loved him. This was the most unkindest cut of all. So this was the greatest moment of betrayal of Brutus, right? And his mighty heart was vanquished, and all his blood fell. Great Caesar fell. Oh, what a fall was there, my countrymen, that you and I and all of us fell down, whilst bloody treason is murder of the king, flourished over us. Now you weep, and I perceive you feel the dint of pity. And he says, and he just opens the shroud and shows the body of Caesar with the multiple stab wounds. And he says, oh, piteous spectacle, oh, bloody sight. And all of them are incited into revenge. And he says, revenge, about, seek, burn, fire, kill, slay, let not a traitor live, right? So it is here that, there was an Antony would ruffle up your spirits and put a tongue in every wound of Caesar that should move the stones of Rome to rise and mutiny. And the crowd says, we'll mutiny, we'll burn the house of Brutus. And therefore, civil war ensues, and the crowd is incited, and Brutus and Antony, the camps of Brutus and Antony will now indulge in this battle in which Antony will prove victorious. Right. Okay. So that then was the speech of Mark Antony, which is there in your syllabus. Now, obviously, you have one question which will be asked from here. So, what is the kind of question that will be asked? The question will be asked is, how does Mark Antony incite the people, or how does this is one of the potential questions. Don't take that this is the question that will be asked. So, how does Antony prove that Caesar was not a tyrant? How does he use irony in his speech? Or the question might be, how does Mark Antony provoke the citizens to rise in mutiny against Brutus? Or how does Mark Antony present Brutus in his speech? So I can ask, how does Mark Antony present Brutus and Caesar in his speech? Right. So you'll have to talk about how he ironically presents Brutus and how he praises Caesar for being just, noble, empathetic to the people, and how he was betrayed by his friends. How does he present Brutus? Brutus is apparently praised as an honorable man who has given him permission to speak at the funeral. But in reality, he says that Caesar was just, Caesar was kind, Caesar was loyal. Brutus is unjust, unkind, and disloyal. This is how, within this speech, Mark Antony uses irony and makes an impassioned plea to his countrymen to rise up in rebellion by presenting Caesar as the real hero, who was thrice presented with the crown at the Lupercal, but did not accept the crown, and he did not want to be a tyrant or a king, and how Brutus has falsely implicated him for being a tyrant and killed him. This then is the speech of Mark Antony. Right. Anybody else wants to make a point or ask a question?
So
Yeah, go ahead.
So
Sorry.
Brutus is ambitious over here.
No, Brutus is not ambitious. You see, the point is Brutus within the play is shown to be genuinely, a divided person. He loves Caesar. So initially he's not willing to kill him. And then Cassius persuades him that he must act for the greater good of the state, right? So Brutus is shown by Antony to be a betrayer. But Brutus believes that Caesar was becoming ambitious, and therefore it was necessary for him to kill Caesar for the greater good of Rome. You see, here in Brutus, there is a division, there is a dilemma, as it were, as to whether friendship comes first or whether country comes first. Now, Brutus chooses the country, but Brutus within Julius Caesar is the truly noble character, right? Mark Antony, of course, wants power. He is ambitious. So it is in his interest to let the people rebel against Brutus and Cassius so that he can seize power. But notice how he sort of incites, how he enrages the people against Brutus and Cassius. Okay. Did you get the point?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Thank
If you're
you, sir.
interested, I'll send you the link to this particular act. You can read the entire segment of Antony's speech. We've taken a very small selection because, to give you just a sample of how Shakespeare uses his English and how deeply literature is also implicated in politics, right? So we tend to see literature as only the finer senses, but literature also talks about politics, talks about, who should be a good king. Is it proper to rebel against a king? This entire idea of rebellion, if any of you were students of political science, would have immediately recognized that, you see, this question of treason, if a king is bad, does one have the right to kill him? Now, during Shakespeare's time, of course, it was believed that the king was God's representative on earth. Therefore, any act of treason against the king was an act against God, the greatest treason ever possible, right? And therefore, it is in this background that you see the play becomes important, because, Julius Caesar is also asking you the same question. Can we rise in rebellion against the king if the king is bad? If the king is unjust and a tyrant? Is it justifiable to challenge the king, to kill him, right? That is the question that is being asked here. Right? Are there any other questions? So as
Sir,
yeah, sure, Arithra.
sir, is Antony harming the future of the city by supporting Julius Caesar?
Well, he's changing the course of Roman history. Later on, of course, Mark Antony himself will fall in love with a woman, the most beautiful woman that ever existed in human history, and her name is Cleopatra, right? And that will be another subject of a play by Shakespeare called Antony and Cleopatra. So he will not be a very good king at all. After Caesar, Octavius will be king, and then Antony will be the monarch, and he too will be killed. So it's a game of power, as it were. He'll probably not be the greatest king of Rome, but whether he will harm the interest of the city is very difficult to say. But yes, at this point of time, there will be rebellion and there will be instability within Rome. But that, I guess, is the way in which history runs. People counter people, forces counter forces, and so on and so on. That's politics. If there's one party only and no dissent, then there would be no politics.
Okay, sir.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead. Right.
so the main objective of the speech is to actually persuade the people into leading a rebellion rather than making Caesar a good person.
No, I think it's two things taken together. You see, there's a strong emotion within Mark Antony also. Caesar's very close friend. So there is a lot of emotion there also. But Mark Antony's major aim, as you have rightly identified, is not only to bury Caesar and to mourn him, it is also simultaneously to incite the people into rebellion. So yes, you are right in that sense. Antony does not quietly go and bury Caesar, does he? He comes to the place, to the capital, he gathers a crowd around him, and Brutus very foolishly allows him that scope, and he incites the people in rebellion against. So revenge is his predominant motive, right? At this moment, Antony is not just ambitious, he's also a friend who wants revenge for the murder of his dear Caesar, right? But yes, his primary aim in the speech is to incite the people in rebellion, but that he does by praising Caesar, right? So they are not two mutually exclusive. You know, his praise of Caesar is meant also targeted to incite the people in rebellion, right? Abidan, have I sort of answered your question?
Sir, like you told the latter act that follows after this scene, the act that follows where this Mark Antony is going to be the king. So, having not read the previous acts and scene, it occurs to me as if that this is just a mere opportunity where Mark Antony is using the death of Caesar as a way of pursuing people into capturing the capital.
Yeah, you can think of it in this way also, right? You see, because there are two camps distinctly. One is the camp of Caesar, Cassius, and obviously, you know, Cassius identifies Antony as Caesar's friend, and therefore somebody whom they should be very wary about. They should be careful about. He would probably be put to death later on. Therefore, in that sense, Mark Antony is using this moment also, this moment of personal grief, also as a political opportunity. Okay.
Yes, sir.
No, you had a doubt. Clarify this. You see, the point that I'm trying to make, Abidan, is that at this point of time in history, within Rome, there are two factions. One is the faction by Caesar, and the other faction is that of Brutus. I'm sorry, Cassius. Now, Brutus exists somewhere in between. He's a nobleman. He's genuinely good. But he's then persuaded by Cassius that Caesar is becoming ambitious, so let us murder him for the good of the state. And Brutus agrees. Right? So, not that I loved Caesar less, but I loved Rome more. But Antony is squarely and fairly in Caesar's camp. And he recognizes that the moment Caesar is dead, he is going to be the next victim. At the same time, he's also mourning his friend. There's no doubt about that. Caesar was his close friend, his king. And therefore, he uses this moment of grief to create a political opportunity where he cannot alone rebel. He has to have the support of the people. So he uses the moment of grief as a kind of political opportunity to stake his claim for kingship. So Antony is ambitious. There's no doubt about that. At the same time, he's also very angry and hurt and mourning at this point. Right? That is what I'm trying to say. You are right when you say that Antony is ambitious and Antony seeks this as a political opportunity. But he's also very, at this point, pretty sad. Sad and angry, I guess. Right? Any other questions? So let me once again, if you want to listen to this lecture once again, here it is. This is my YouTube channel. So you can go and subscribe there so that you can, I will upload this video, say, today afternoon, so that you can go and listen to the lecture, take a look at the text. So can I ask any one person to actually give me the to write to me? This is my number. I am giving you my WhatsApp number here. Please note it down. One of you write to me, right? Drop an WhatsApp message. So in that WhatsApp message, I'll send you the link also, and I'll send you the text also, right? So that you can study the text at your own leisure and listen to the link at your own leisure. Right.
Sure.
So yeah, sure. Go ahead. Tarannum, you wanted to make a point?
No, sir. So it will be helpful if you kindly give the link and the.
You see, the link to the page is given here. The specific link to the lecture I can only give you once I have uploaded it onto the YouTube, right? I will send it to one of you, the link via WhatsApp message today. Once I have uploaded it. So who will send a WhatsApp message to me? You do it, Tarannum, or will somebody else want to do it?
So sure, sir.
Okay, please drop me a WhatsApp message, and then you can forward that link to the group. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Right. So I have just this one class with you. Thank you for your patience. I'm now sort of switching off the recording mode. Just give me a second.